So, ladies and gentlemen, meet Leyla. Leyla is a 2011 CBR600rr limited edition. So called, I imagine, because of the woman on the side, who is obviously a woman of ill repute because she plays with cards, and there's other sort of references, the 8-ball, skull and crossbones, which seem to suggest that she's not a nice lass, she's a naughty lass. And the bike is just, well, stunning. It's a shame it's not a sunny day today, because you would see the pearlescent paintwork, and this white just shines like diamonds when the sun's shining on it. It is so, so beautiful. Even the wheel rim tape is to match on the outside. There's a few things that need to be done with this bike. Clearly the tail tidy needs to go on, because that number plate holder is just awful, isn't it? But that's things to do. It's got no crash bungs on it at the moment. That could do with being done. But otherwise it's pretty much stock. I've had it lowered just a little bit, about between an 1.5 and 2 inches, to fit my short legs. This bike's 820mm high, which is 32.3 inches, which is about 2 inches higher than my SV was. So it's definitely a taller bike, and I find it much easier now that it's been lowered. I've borrowed Russ's adjustable levers for the time being. I struggle a bit with levers because my hands are so umpa-lumpa, but otherwise it's as it comes. And this is my dream bike. Always a bit of a risk when you have your dream bike, whether it lives up to expectations. I fell in love with it for the way that it looked, and it is stunning. I wasn't sure whether I'd get on with the CBR600rr because of the seat height and how tall it was. But I did run Haslam Race Day last year on the 600rrs, and that was unmodified. I didn't come off. I didn't come near to coming off, and I quite enjoyed the ride. So that sort of said that this was probably going to be a good bike for me. So there it is, very beautiful. So we'll take it for a little bit of a spin. So you'll see it's all electronic dash apart from the rev counter. It's got a fuel gauge as well. Don't you just love a fuel gauge? Every bike that I've had, except my first bike, a 125, has not had a fuel gauge. And how many times do you forget to reset it when you put your fuel in? It's only done 1,200 miles, as you can see, so it's still a baby. The time is always wrong. It's clearly not 10:28 p.m, but we've put a new battery on it, so we haven't reset it yet. I mean, it just revs and revs. It's very different sounding to mine. Something I had to get used to the first time I went on it. So a little bit of a speed hump here. It is so, so smooth. I didn't think a bike like this would be terribly forgiving in terms of the ride. Really didn't, but it has been. First time I rode it, I think I was doing 30 in top gear because I was a bit all over the place. But it lets you. I actually feel that the ride feels faster than it is. I don't know if that's the riding position or what. But it doesn't feel like I'm doing 50, it feels like I'm doing 70. Which is probably not a bad thing, really. It'll help me keep my licence, won't it? So it's very, very smooth. This is the first 4-cylinder bike that I've had. Everything else has been twin or a V-twin, and it's a smoother ride. But it's just horses for courses, really. I don't think it makes too much difference. It definitely feels like I need to change gear, but I'm not doing 5,000 revs yet, and that's something I'm trying to get used to, because it is a different sort of ride to every other bike I've had. Okay. It's probably not a good time to come on the bike when you've just been watching the BSB on telly. But in terms of the bike, it's, as I said, it's fairly forgiving in terms of the gear change. It's really, really smooth. It's a nice ride. It's a sporty riding position, but perhaps not as forward as the SB. I'm not finding the pressure on my wrists as much as then. I tend to grip the tank with my knees to ease the pressure anyway, but certainly I don't think it's as uncomfortable as the SB could be at times. The mirrors are pretty good. They're just stock mirrors, but they work pretty well. They're a good size. And of course, being Honda, you're going to have great residuals. You're going to have all the aftermarket parts that you could wish for. So that's always a bonus. I actually wanted an RR when I passed my test. I was looking for one that was about 2003, 2004. And I don't think at that time I was confident enough to handle the higher seat height. And I looked at the Gixxer, the CBR and the R6. And the Gixxer was a little bit smaller, then the CBR, and then the R6 was really tall. This being lowered makes all the difference, all the difference. It just gives you that little bit of confidence. I still have to lean it to the side when I stop. I'm never going to be flat-footed. But I think having had a couple of years experience, I perhaps don't need that safety blanket as much as I did. And again, the acceleration is not too severe on it at all. It's fairly smooth. I've said smooth more than 4 times yet. It's quite a nice comfy ride. Not sure I'll be doing 6 hours plus on this, but I don't tend to do long rides like that anymore. I like a little blast, clear the air, and come back home and warm up. I'm getting old, you know.